I have to preface this video with a bit of a disclaimer. Just because I'm telling you about the secrets that these celebrities didn't want you to know doesn't mean I actually know these secrets. I've done extensive research and summed up celebrity secrets that have all been reported publicly, meaning that if you want to look into it, you're more than capable. That being said, we're going to be breaking down some of these secrets that celebrities did their very best to keep out of the public eye. In at number 10, Janet Jackson. It's very rare that a celebrity in Hollywood is able to keep their relationship, or marriage for that matter, under the radar. However, Janet Jackson has been able to keep her multiple marriages and subsequent divorces all a secret from the tabloids. First, she was married to singer-songwriter Renee Elizondo in 1991, and that union remained under wraps until she filed for divorce in 2000. She then managed to keep her next marriage to billionaire Wissam Almana in 2012 a secret as well. This marriage actually really ended up changing Janet. She moved to London and abandoned her look to opt for a more conservative garb in line with Almana's Muslim religion. The couple wed 2 years after they met, and much to everyone's surprise, the then 50-year-old Janet announced that she was pregnant with son Issa, who was born in January of this year. To even greater surprise, Janet then announced her separation from Almana 4 months later. In at number 9, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is typically all about the laugh, so it's really hard to believe her when she's talking about her late brother, a convicted pedophile. The public first learned about her older brother Kenny in her best-selling autobiography My Life on the D-List, and in the book Kathy spoke about growing up with her brother and how she felt a very violent energy whenever he was around. She even admitted to witnessing him beating up his own wife. What's just as disturbing was when Kathy explained how he was sexually inappropriate with her from the time that she was just a little girl. Ultimately, this shaped the way that she perceived the world and herself as she grew up. Kenny Griffin ended up going to prison and eventually passed away. In at number 8, Rose McGowan. Ever since the beginning of the Time's Up and Me Too movement, actress Rose McGowan has been an outspoken force for change. As a result, she's been very open about her own personal secrets involving mental illness and sexual abuse. Growing up, her life was plagued with pain because her parents belonged to a cult called the Children of God. According to Rose, the members believed in free love, and so she was raised in a commune where mistreating women was just normalized. She even cited that men in the cult would regularly mistreat women and force them to act as servants. In at number 7, Holly Madison. Having frequently visited the Playboy Mansion when she was a 20-year-old college student in Los Angeles, the aspiring actress decided to move into the house a year later in 2001. The Oregon native, who was familiar with Playboy and had been a fan, soon became Hugh Hefner's lead girlfriend, and the two appeared to fall madly in love. Over the course of their 7 years together, their untraditional relationship was followed on the E! Channel series called The Girls Next Door. Holly acted as the loyal wife figure alongside co-stars and fellow girlfriends Kendra and Bridget. However, in a bizarre series of events, Holly left the mansion claiming that Hugh had refused to marry her. That being said, this is exactly how Hef wanted things to appear to the general public. In her memoir titled Down the Rabbit Hole, she spoke openly about the relationship and revealed some deep-rooted secrets that Hugh never wanted us to know. Apparently, he knew that she was unhappy and just ignored her. Upon reflecting on it, she said that even though she gave 7 years of her life, the man could barely have a conversation with her. In at number 6, Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa Joan Hart may be a happily married mother of 3, but during her time as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she partied like every other Hollywood star. In the 1990s, she appeared to be this squeaky clean actor, but that was just an image put forth by executives. In her tell-all book called Melissa Explains It All, she speaks very openly about all of the secret stories that she had to keep under wraps while acting in Hollywood. In one portion of the book, she says that she experimented with weed, ecstasy, mushrooms, and mescaline for about a year and a half. Looks like her broomstick wasn't the only thing that was getting her high. Am I right? Up top. No? Okay. On top of that, she spilled crazy details about making out with a woman in a limo and then heading to a Maxim photo shoot while still high, then revealing that it was her 3rd or 4th time on ecstasy for this photo shoot. Although all this bad behavior, she says, is attributed to the bad crowd that she was hanging around with. I think she claimed also that Paris Hilton once offered her cocaine at a party, but obviously she denied. In number 5, Daniel Radcliffe. Where does the time go? It feels like only yesterday that we were watching the adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Although because we were so engulfed in following Daniel Radcliffe bring this character to life, we failed to notice when he grew up. Not only that, but his confession that he had a drinking problem was sadly something that no one wanted to hear about. Thankfully, he beat this in 2010, but the actor himself has revealed that he would show up to the set of Harry Potter still intoxicated from the night before. Daniel said that there were times during his teen years where he felt like he was being watched, and while admitting that most of that may have been in his own head, he still didn't know how to deal with it. During an interview with Off Camera, he said, "In my case, the quickest way to forget about the fact that you're being watched is to get very drunk." In an interview for The Guardian, he said that he turned to alcohol to cope with the pressure of fame and potential failure. And as I mentioned, he has been sober since 2010, but said that his friends played a big role in his recovery. Although he did reveal some pretty crazy stuff about being intoxicated while filming Harry Potter. Daniel said, "I can honestly say I never drank at work on Harry Potter. I went into work still drunk, but I never drank at work. I can point to many scenes where I'm just gone, dead behind the eyes." That really changes that movie series for me. In at number 4, Jackie Chan. There are very few actors in the world that have forsaken their health and safety like Jackie Chan just in order to do their own stunts. As a master of the martial arts, he's put his skills to the test both physically and comedically. Over the course of his illustrious career, he has injured himself countless times but somehow remains unfazed. It's most likely because Jackie grew up in a family of risk takers. His mother, Li Chan, was a drug dealer, and his father actually was a secret agent for the Nationalist Guard. His father ended up fleeing to Hong Kong after Mao took power in 1949, and his mother was forced to abandon her first 2 children due to extreme poverty. Jackie Chan's parents actually met in the most bizarre way possible, a reason for meeting that Jackie would keep quiet for many years. Li and Charles Chan met when he busted her for drug possession. He ended up taking pity on her and then just letting her go. I mean, what an origin story for this Hollywood superstar. In at number 3, Richard Pryor. More often than not, comedians have very tragic backstories, and that can certainly be said for the legendary comedian Richard Pryor. The actor and comic struggled with addictions throughout his life. He was married 7 times and even lit himself on fire once. However, his upbringing was even more of a personal struggle. Richard Pryor's mother, Gertrude, was a prostitute who worked out of his grandmother Marie's brothel. When Gertrude abandoned her son when he was only 10 years old, he was left in the hands of his abusive grandmother. Pryor's paternal side also didn't do him any favors. His father, Leroy, was a hustler and a boxer, yet despite his own demons and secrets, Pryor was able to turn his pain into comedy. In at number 2, 50 Cent. A lot of rappers talk about living a gangster lifestyle, but some of them actually do it. 50 Cent might seem egotistical and talk a big game, but the rapper has had a very tough childhood. The rapper, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was born in Queens, New York, and his mother, Sabrina, was just 15 years old when she gave birth to him. Sabrina ended up turning to drug dealing to feed her son and became one of the most notorious drug dealers in the area. Unfortunately, she was killed in an unexplained fire when Jackson was only 8 years old. Still, he would go on to follow in her footsteps with drug dealing and was even shot 9 times in May of 2000. At the age of 19, an undercover police officer had arrested Jackson for selling 4 vials of cocaine, and then his home was raided 3 weeks later. He was then sentenced to 3 to 9 years, and he went to a boot camp instead to get his GED, but at this time he was already rapping and took on the name 50 Cent, which actually was an original moniker of a Brooklyn crook from the 1980s. Bunch of secrets in there for you that you can read on an autobiography page. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Keith Richards. Nobody who started their career in the music business in the 1960s, and I mean nobody, has remained untouched by the glorious days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is especially valid for the musicians of the legendary rock bands, most of whom have admitted to having consumed all kinds of substances in their time. But none of those are as bizarre as the one that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones is said to have sampled. In 2007, a magazine revealed that the 72-year-old guitarist once mixed his father's ashes with cocaine and then snorted him. The veteran of drug marathons was convinced that his father wouldn't have objected at all, and added that he went down pretty well. Many years later, Richards realized that being still alive after decades of drug and alcohol abuse was just pure luck. He also advised that others not follow in his footsteps and definitely abstain from snorting their parents.
So starting off at number 10, we have Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner revealed one of her most regretful secrets in her memoir, Kris Jenner and All Things Kardashian. In the book, she gave details on her affair with Todd Waterman that happened while she was still married to Rob Kardashian. She wrote in her memoir, quote, "We had sex everywhere, all the time. Out of control, crazy, dangerous, wild sex." She admitted to doing it in cars, on the tennis court, in the pool house, and even the garage. Jenner opened up in interviews later that she thinks it was her age that caused her to make the mistake. Since she met Rob at the age of 18, then married him at 22, she was getting bored of their marriage after 10 years of being together. And when she was introduced to Todd, who was 10 years younger than her, she was smitten. Adding that people always think the grass is greener, but she deeply regrets her cheating. And at number 9, Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore has been opening up about her horrible childhood and all the terrible things she did when she was just a preteen. In her book, she revealed that she got into drugs when she was just 10 years old. Writing, quote, "When I was 10 and a half, I was sitting in the back seat of a car driven by a friend's mother. She started smoking pot. I wanted to try it for a long time, but I was afraid if I asked, she'd say, 'No way, Drew, you're too young.' However, she offered me some, and I said, 'Sure, I'll try it.' I was shocked. But she had that look to say, 'Isn't it cute, a little girl getting stoned?'" And she also just revealed on an episode of her show with Paris Hilton that she went to behavioral schools when she was younger because she was so out of control, and she was locked in solitary many times. And at number 8, Woody Harrelson. Actor Woody Harrelson has been part of the film industry for decades now, and he's a true Hollywood legend. But while you might never expect him to have some familial skeletons in the closet, he does, and his father was actually a notorious hitman. And he actually committed the first assassination of a judge in the 20th century. But that was not his only one. He also killed a carpet salesman for $1,500 after a deal fell through. Apparently, Harrelson found out about his father's occupation when he was 12 years old. Charles Harrelson passed away in prison in 2009. And at number 7, Rihanna. Rihanna is one of the most successful female musicians of all time, but she's another star with some family issues that she tried to keep a secret. Apparently one day out of the blue, Rihanna discovered that her father, Ronald Fenty, had another secret family, and that meant that Rihanna had 2 sisters and 1 brother that she never knew existed, with all of the 3 siblings having different mothers. Her father was also addicted to alcohol, drugs, and sex. But after some time, it seems that Rihanna has been the bigger person, and they've been able to repair their relationship. And at number 6, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is a woman known for making everyone around her laugh. But like with a lot of comedians, Kathy used humor to cope with a lot of the bad she was dealt when she was younger. In her autobiography, My Life on the D-List, she speaks about the trauma she endured because of her brother, Kenny. She wrote that he was inappropriate with her very often, and that led her to have a lot of internal issues. She also claims that when she was around him, she felt a dark and even violent presence. She even spoke further in the book about some things that she witnessed in adulthood, saying that she once saw him hurting his own wife. He eventually went to prison and then ended up passing away, but the bad memories still live with her. Halfway number 5, Mariah Carey. It was revealed that Mariah Carey was suffering from bipolar disorder, but the unfortunate part is that it wasn't Mariah herself that shared it with the world, but rather her sister. Because of her sister's comments, Mariah opened up about her sister and the issues that she has that affects Mariah as well. Mariah's sister Allison claimed that Mariah had been struggling with the disorder for years, but the relationship between the sisters is more than a little strange, and they allegedly hadn't spoken since 1994 at the time. Allison has been arrested multiple times for illegal activities, and she once told undercover cops that she could, quote, give them a sweet, sweet fantasy. Allison also calls out Mariah for not helping her with her medication, since she deals with her own issues and is in need of money to pay for the medication. Because of this, Allison has tried to extort her sister multiple times for money, which I'm sure is incredibly exhausting for Mariah. And at number 4, Lori Loughlin. This is one I'm sure you know of, but some big names in Hollywood were exposed big time when Operation Varsity Blues found that Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman had bribed their child's way into prestigious universities. Loughlin and her husband, fashion guru Massimo Giannulli, were accused of paying $500,000 to get their daughters Olivia J. Giannulli and Bella Giannulli into USC on the crew team, when, as I'm sure that you already know, they never even played the sport. In light of everything, the family lost tons of sponsorship deals, and Loughlin's contract with Hallmark came to an abrupt end. And in the end, Lori was sentenced to 2 months in prison for her crimes. And now the family's reputation will probably never be the same. And at number 3, Demi Moore. Demi Moore spilled everything about her marriage to Ashton Kutcher in her 2019 memoir, Inside Out. And there are things in the book that I'm sure she was reluctant to bring to light again. In the book, she talks about the tumultuous 8-year marriage to Ashton Kutcher, giving details on the fact that they had a threesome because Ashton essentially begged for it. After it happened, Moore was regretful about the situation, but it seemed that Ashton was not, and only made him more distant in the marriage. Writing in her book, quote, because we'd brought in a third party into our relationship, Ashton said that blurred the lines and to some extent justified what he'd done, speaking about the fact that it led to him cheating down the line. But the marriage was over after he admitted to cheating on her with a 21-year-old woman in 2011, adding in an interview that the divorce is the reason she had a relapse with her alcohol addiction. Saying in the Red Table Talk interview, quote, the addiction was in the codependency. My addiction to Ashton was probably almost more devastating than alcohol because it took me seriously away emotionally. And because she had spilled all of these secrets, she was asked why she decided to talk about all this now, with her responding, quote, I think my desire was to really get to a place where I'm okay to really be seen. Adding, quote, when there isn't anything to protect, that's a great spot. And at number 2, Allison Mack. The case of Smallville actor Allison Mack was one of the most shocking and disturbing in recent years. On April 20th of 2018, the actor was arrested in Brooklyn on charges of sex trafficking, along with other similar crimes. Apparently, she was heavily involved in a bad group of people called Nexium, and apparently she was used to recruit women into the group. And then these victims were later exploited by the group in numerous ways. After a lengthy trial, Mack pled guilty to the charges. However, it's been over a year since she was sentenced and no time has actually been given. So she's been on house arrest in her parents' house this whole time. And at number 1, Meghan Markle. Since Meghan Markle became one of the most famous people on earth basically overnight, a lot has been exposed about her, a lot that I'm sure she wishes didn't. One thing is that her sister said she, quote, is a social climber with a soft spot for gingers. Okay. But one of the biggest secrets about Meghan that people are pretty convinced is true is that she used to author a shady blog about the industry. The blog was called, quote, The Working Actress. And to give you an idea of some of the stuff she wrote about, the blog said it was documenting the ups and downs of a hustling young actress in the cutthroat world of Hollywood. In February 2018, the Daily Mail reported that impeccable sources from California confirmed that Meghan Markle wrote the blog, with an actor named Lance Carter telling Daily Mail, quote, yeah, it was definitely Meghan who wrote it. Then in Andrew Morton's biography, Meghan, a Hollywood Princess, the magazine included The Working Actress in a list of the royals' former jobs. So clearly her more public blog, The Tig, wasn't all she was writing.
In at number 10, Leighton Meester. You'd never be able to tell by how she carries herself today, but this polished celebrity was actually born in a Texas prison while her mother was serving time for drug smuggling. Though her mother was allowed to spend 12 weeks in a halfway house with newborn Leighton, she was soon sent back to jail. Meester ended up living with her grandmother in Florida until her mother was released. At 10, her family moved to New York so that she could begin a career in modeling, only to then pack up again 4 years later and head to Los Angeles. Once in Hollywood, she began auditioning for various roles while taking acting classes, but she found it difficult to relate to kids her age because of her unstable upbringing, an upbringing that she kept hidden for a very long time. Her breakout acting role was when she portrayed Blair Waldorf on Gossip Girl, a character whose mother was the owner of a fashion empire, which, as you can imagine, was a stark contrast from her actual childhood. Today, though, she was worth an estimated $16 million. In at number 9, Selena Gomez. In typical rumor mill fashion, when singer Selena Gomez decided to cancel part of her world tour in 2013, the gossip magazines did all kinds of speculating as to why. They said she was battling a drug and alcohol addiction and listed a plethora of other unconfirmed conspiracies. The real reason that these types of stories kind of bubble up is because of how secretive celebrities are. Although, can we blame them? I'm sure there are some parts of their life that they just want to keep quiet. And turns out Gomez had been hiding a secret from the world, but it had nothing to do with indulging in addictions. Later on, Selena revealed to Billboard that she had to undergo chemotherapy to treat lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease. She mainly wanted to wait for the right time to talk about it, and when she did, she didn't want to be loud about the whole thing. Selena just wanted to wait so that she could properly use her platform to help spread awareness. In at number 8, Prince. Prince has always been a wild and eccentric character. I mean, in 1993, he literally changed his name to a symbol. If that's not the definition of an enigma, I don't know what is. Although this brilliant musician was hiding a big secret from the world. For his entire life, Prince had been coping with epilepsy, which is a serious medical condition. Although in 2009, he revealed this secret during an interview with PBS. In the interview, Prince told host Tavis Smiley, "I've never spoken about this before, but I was born epileptic. I used to have seizures when I was young. My mother and father didn't know what to do or how to handle it, but they did the best they could with what little they had." Although Prince said that after a while he was able to keep his condition largely under control. He also noted though that this control over his epilepsy came by way of an angel that spoke to him. In at number 7, Katie Holmes. Just 5 days before Tom Cruise celebrated his 50th birthday, his wife of 5 years, Katie Holmes, filed for divorce in New York. The world was completely shocked by this secret being unearthed. The couple had been spotted together on the set of Oblivion in Iceland just days before, and they were strolling along like nothing was going on. Everything's fine. Don't look at us. Apparently, Holmes orchestrated her escape, if you will, from Cruise very carefully. She set up secret meetings with lawyers and prepared to battle for sole custody of their daughter, Shuri. Now, although the details leading up to this was kept secret, if you were watching the tabloids, one could assume that she was using them to shift the public's perspective. Katie Holmes used the sympathies of the tabloids to convince people that she was just this kind of passive wife of Tom Cruise was a maniac, which is believable, right? The weirdest part was that right after her divorce, she had all of these events set up where there would be people there to photograph her. Normally, following a divorce, you would think that you'd, take some time to yourself, take some time off from work maybe, but nope, she just went right to the cover of the August issue of Elle magazine. In at number 6, Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 1971, Jenner participated in their first decathlon, and by 1972, Jenner was competing in the decathlon at the Munich Olympics. At those Olympics, they finished 10th overall in the event, and in 1976, Jenner went on to win the gold in the decathlon at the Montreal Olympics and was declared by the media to be the world's greatest athlete. Jenner was able to accomplish all of this while living with a deep personal secret that wouldn't be shared with the public for, I don't know, another 40 years? In 2014, Jenner announced that they were divorcing from longtime wife Kris Jenner, and just a year later, Jenner shocked the world when they revealed that they had undergone gender reassignment surgery. At the age of 65, Caitlyn Jenner introduced herself to the world, and by 2015, ESPN had awarded Jenner the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, and to this day, Caitlyn is one of the most prominent public figures to come out as transgender. And at number 5, Lance Armstrong. In 2012, champion cyclist Lance Armstrong denied that he ever relied on performance-enhancing drugs. He referred to the doping allegations against him as outlandish and heinous. However, when the US anti-doping agency revealed compelling evidence, the cyclist's house of lies began to crumble. The agency released about 1,000 pages of evidence in doping allegations against Armstrong and his teammates. This led to him being stripped of 7 Tour de France titles and bronze Olympic medal, plus his secret forced him to step down as chairman of the Livestrong Foundation. Armstrong would later give a detailed account of his doping to Oprah Winfrey in 2013.
You know, I view this situation as one big lie that I repeated a lot of times.
In at number 4, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This secret that Arnold kept ended up being the bombshell that destroyed his marriage. Just 5 days after Arnold's then wife Maria Shriver gave birth to their 4th son in 1997, the couple's housekeeper, Mildred Patricia Baina, also gave birth to a son by the same action star. He kept this child of his a secret until he completed 2 terms as California's governor in 2011. Then he finally confessed his infidelity to Shriver and later the public. All it took was the media identifying the mystery baby mama, and thus the celebrity scandal had been completed. There have always been celebrities that kept their kids out of the public eye, but nothing in terms of what Arnold was able to pull off by keeping this all a secret for so long. Imagine seeing that kid and be like, this kid looks like Arnold's son. Is that Arnold's son? In at number 3, Charlie Sheen. No one has really been attacked in the press like Charlie Sheen has. Not saying he hasn't earned some of his controversies, but let's just say that there are some very shady people in this world. The notorious actor appeared on NBC's Today Show in 2015 to announce that he was HIV positive. Charlie had been diagnosed with HIV 4 years prior and finally revealed his secret after several people actually tried to blackmail him. Allegedly, there were some people threatening to reveal this secret unless he gave them $10 million.
I'm here to admit that I am in fact HIV positive. And I have to put a stop to this onslaught.
If the timeline is 4 years from this interview, then his diagnosis would have come right as this whole controversy with the show 2.5 Men started. You know, the one where he said in a bunch of interviews that he had tiger blood and Adonis DNA. Like, it's no wonder with that much press on him already that he didn't want to also reveal what could even be perceived as a weakness to his health. In at number 2, Drake. This one was a huge reveal because for so long people were just simply speculating on whether or not Drake was dating someone. So when Pusha T released a track with a line directed at Drake that said, "You are hiding a child, let that boy come home, Adonis is your son," everyone that was watching that feud had this jaw-dropping moment when Drake finally revealed his secret son named Adonis. How did Pusha T know this? Drake would later record a song called Emotionless that explained why he had kept his son hidden from the public. He just didn't want to expose his son to the world that would have had their eyes on his every move. And it's understandable, but I believe it baffled people because it wasn't like he was like happily married to someone. He appeared to just be this rolling stone that was always rumored to be romantically involved with one celebrity or another. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. Like many celebrities on this list, JT and JB have had an awful time trying to keep their personal lives out of the public eye. One thing that has certainly helped keep a lot of secrets is, well, this pandemic. I mean, if the paparazzi can't come within 6 feet of you and everyone's on lockdown in their homes, the tabloids must be just suffering right now. Although the Daily Mail still found a way to unearth some celebrity secrets when they revealed that Jessica had secretly given birth to a baby boy. The family are thought to be in Big Sky, Montana, where they have been spending time amid the coronavirus pandemic, and both of them have neglected to share any details whatsoever about the pregnancy, so I guess we'll have to check the Daily Mail if you want info on that celebrity secret. In at number 10, unconventional childhood. Growing up, Ellen didn't really have a typical upbringing because her parents full-on believed in Christian Science. They essentially used the word of the Bible as their guide to eternal life, which includes how they take care of people when they're sick. It was a system of belief that caused Ellen a lot of physical and emotional pain in her life. The worst part of her childhood was that her parents actually never took her to see a doctor, nor did they give her any medicine when she was feeling ill. Now I'm sure most of her fans would accept Ellen's Christian Science past, but others may feel alienated by it, so she keeps it pretty under wraps. As a result of being raised in a Christian Science household, Ellen was never even vaccinated as a child. Another secret she doesn't want you to know about. In at number 9, she's a terrible boss. When the pandemic shut down the world, the wealthy among us had a moral choice to make. If you owned a business, do you then give from what you have to keep your employees paid? In Ellen's case, she had a tight-knit and dedicated crew that outlasted a writer's strike and still stuck by her afterwards. Yet when they needed her help, Ellen and her net worth of $400 million said nope. What's worse is that she hired a non-union crew instead to run her show from home. So you force them not to unionize and then turn around and show them exactly why they should have. The backlash comes after Variety reported that Ellen's staff were given no information and entirely left in the dark after filming for the show stopped in March. Oh, and then she said her mansion felt like jail.
One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that people, this is like being in jail.
By the way, that's a $27 million mansion. Feels like jail. In at number 8, not welcome in NYC. When the writer's strike kicked off in 2007, Ellen found herself in a strange situation. Because she also writes for the show, she's a fully paid member of the Writers Guild of America. So when the Writers Guild of America went on a strike that lasted from November 2007 to February 2008, she was forced with a tough decision. Does she support her fellow writers or cross the picket line and go to work? DeGeneres showed her support for the strike, but on November 9, 2007, 9 days into the strike, she revealed that she would be crossing the picket line. The strike is believed to have costed the Los Angeles entertainment industry over $1 billion in revenue. Following Ellen's decision, the show ran as usual, just without the opening monologue. Unfortunately for Ellen, the Writers Guild of America were furious. They even said that she was not welcome in New York City anymore. In at number 7, she has a mean streak. In Kathy Griffin's new book, Celebrity Run-Ins: My A to Z Index, she said, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmys Awards." She then goes on to say, "I can prove it, but this person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." And I don't think she's talking about James Corden. According to former employees of Ellen's show, this mean streak theory holds up. One insider said, "She's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. She's so nice to celebrities, but Ellen's demands that junior staffers don't speak to her, touch her, or even look at her." Turns out she's just rude to most people when the cameras are turned off. In at number 6, Ellen Not So Generous. In May of 2019, Ellen had country star Blake Shelton on the show and among other questions repeatedly brought up his relationship with Gwen Stefani. She then even gifted him with a large clock of the pair kissing that was supposed to encourage them to get married. The clock being a reminder that time is well ticking. Well, when he came back on the show in December of 2019, and other than him being embarrassed by again Ellen asking more questions about his personal relationship, we found out that he actually never received the clock. And Blake took full advantage of his time on the show to expose Ellen for not actually giving these gifts to her guests, but instead recycling them whenever she wanted. In at number 5, lies for good TV. When Dakota Johnson came on the show, we really got to see that Ellen is not afraid to lie if it makes for good television. First and foremost, she said happy belated birthday, then asked how it was because she didn't get an invite, which leads to Dakota calling her out on that lie. I just can't believe that on top of that, she also was rude to her the last time that she was on the show. Why would you want to come back after that? Now, either she's really forgetful or has lied so many times that she just can't keep track of it, because the next part of that interview was confusing to say the least. She then insists that she was never invited and even turns to her producer to clarify that there was no invitation. Her producer then says, "You were invited, but you were out of town at that thing." And then the plot thickens because that thing is coming up next. In at number 4, fame over values. So not only did Ellen lie about not getting a birthday invitation to Dakota Johnson's party, but that thing that she was doing out of town was even tweeted by her. She says, "Yes, that was me at the Cowboys game with George Bush over the weekend." Ellen was then blasted on Twitter for hanging out with former Republican President George W. Bush. Bush was the president for 8 years and fought against gay marriage. He even wanted to make a constitutional amendment in 2004 that would define marriage as a union of a man and a woman. I believe Walker had the best take on this though. He said, "Here's the thing, Ellen. George W. Bush is a war criminal who is responsible for death on a cataclysmic scale. It's not a matter of being friends with people with different beliefs. We all have those friends. It's about having a little perspective on the damage that he's done." Well said. In at number 3, publicity stunts. In a bizarre turn of events, in order to distract from the negative attention that attending a football game with a war criminal brings, Ellen just kissed Howard Stern. While on the show, Stern made note about how under fire she was over the George Bush photo. He then explains that he's on her side and that booking him was a great idea. Howard then suggests that if the pair were to kiss on television, it would switch the focus to them. The really hilarious part about all of this is just how open they are with it. Anyone with a brain can see that she's creating these publicity stunts to drum up controversy and get more name recognition. However, if you were to ask Ellen, she would never admit that it was all just a cover-up to hide her mistakes. In at number 2, took money from school kids. In 1984, California voters approved the state lottery with an understanding that 34% of sales revenue would go towards education. However, in December, the company just gave Ellen a ton of scratch tickets to just give away to her audience. In fact, each audience member received a $500 bundle of scratchers tickets from the California State Lottery. Now, of course, they both saw this as a publicity boom, but a whistleblower from inside the company is suggesting that it was a misuse of funds. The total face value for these tickets was just over $200,000, and by just giving away these lottery tickets on her show, Ellen and the lottery company should be held responsible for that loss. The weird thing is that they even mentioned how the revenue from the tickets goes towards education in Los Angeles. Then she just turns around and accepts the gift with no money exchanged to the charity. Last but certainly not least, in our number 1 spot, Portia moved out. There have always been rumors that Ellen and Portia's marriage wasn't actually going well, and speculation would rise every time Ellen was seen not wearing her wedding ring. Although once being locked down in quarantine with each other and Ellen coming under attack recently for so many things, Portia has officially moved out. Instead of living in the home that they purchased together in LA when they got married, an insider source said that Portia has been living in Montesino Heights for weeks. The source went on to say Ellen tries to appease her by giving her whatever she wants, like her art company and buying any home Portia falls in love with. However, some time apart will do them good. They love each other so much, so I don't think they're about to give up on their marriage just yet. With that though, let's check out some of your comments from the video titled Top 10 Celebrities Who Defended Ellen DeGeneres. M says they defend her only because she hasn't bullied them yet anyway. Have you noticed how these people that she did bully on her show haven't come running to defend her? Like, I haven't seen a Dakota Johnson defense at all. I mean, at all. So it's definitely the people that she was more palling around with. Those celebrities that are like, no, she's awesome. She gave me muffins. Everybody was so kind. Yeah, it's because you're a celebrity. Sarah Davis says the celebrities defend her, but this really has nothing to do with them. This is about people who work behind the scenes. Of course, Ellen was nice to celebrities. They were the guests of the show. They have nothing to do with how the show is run. Couldn't agree more, Sarah. They had a totally different experience for a reason. Abby May says, Johnny, can't you keep your political beliefs to yourself when reporting? I saw a lot of comments about keeping political beliefs out of my reporting. Here's the thing. This is an opinion channel, an entertainment channel at best. We've never once said that we were this trusted news source bringing you an unbiased opinion. It's not on the YouTube channel art at all. We all have our own bias, whether or not you want to admit it. I'm just reporting the facts that I research and then adding my own take to make it interesting because I want to debate in the comment section, to be honest with you, and I'm a YouTuber, not Walter Cronkite. You're free to say that I'm wrong or debate me in the comments, but I'm not going to filter what I say to make you happy. James Fraser says, hey Johnny, can really tell that you have a lot of feelings flowing in this vid. You're so right how all of these people are defending her are either too oblivious or in it for their own good. Rich famous people just want to feel more important than the rest of us normal souls. Every person on this list you can believe I will no longer have anything to do with, and I liked Elton John, oh well. I try to add passion into what I'm saying, otherwise it just comes out boring, okay? I'm not an unbiased news anchor, nor do I pretend to be. I appreciate your comment though, James, because you're not taking my word as gospel, you're just making your own decisions based on the facts that I presented. We need more like you. Matthew Smith says, everything you say about Bush can be said and multiplied by Obama. Look, you're 100% right, Matt. I think all politicians are corrupt, and Obama was one of the biggest advocates for war. He oversaw more drone strikes than any president in history. That's what made me laugh about all of the Republicans getting mad at me for calling George Bush out. I'm Canadian. I'm not on any side and I refuse to let anyone label me right or left. I'm just relaying the information and then adding my own takes. If you don't agree with me, then that's fine. Look into everything yourself and come to your own conclusions. That's all I ask of you.
I'm gonna shout out some comments from my video on celebs who spent time in jail. MLG Gamer said, Tim Allen shocked me too. He never struck me as someone who would get into trouble, you know? I completely get what you're saying. I feel like I've literally only seen him in really wholesome roles. Like he's literally playing Santa half the time. So yeah, no, he's not someone that I would expect to be in jail. Then Prep For It said, Bill Cosby should be kept in prison forever. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that one for sure. Then Lazarus said, hey Mackenzie, your hairstyle looks and reminds of Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat series. So I'm not like a gamer whatsoever, so I had to Google what that was.
I haven't even seen the movie.
I definitely agree with you there. I do look reminiscent of that, especially I think the hair color too like helps with that.
With that though, let's check out some of your comments from the video titled Top 10 Celebrities Whose Real Names Will Surprise You. Dennis Menace says, you're telling me Lady Gaga is not her real name? Unbelievable. Dennis, I appreciate your sarcasm. Yeah right. 57 says, I like how he thanks the editors every vid. Everyone forgets about the editors who do 90% of the work. They do not get enough credit. They most certainly do not get the credit they deserve. I mean, the amount of time and patience that this job takes, I made a mistake there, but you won't see it because the editor edited it out. Mother of Chaos says, you missed a good one, Johnny. Chain Wits. Gene Simmons of Kiss? Oh, Mother of Chaos. That is a great one. I'll have to put that in part 2. Deanna H says, awesome video, Johnny. Please, please, please do part 2 to this one. I will speak with Lucy and see what we can do. Lucy, if you're editing this, the fans want a part 2. Melissa Meek says, love your videos. You're doing fantastic. Aw, thank you so much, Melissa. I appreciate the kind words. Anyways, without any further delay, let's get right into today's list of the top 10 secrets Ellen DeGeneres? Yeah, degenerates? Going from anyways. Anyways, without any further delay, let's get right into our list of the top 10 secrets Ellen DeGeneres. Why can't I say her name? Ellen DeGeneres? DeGeneres. Oh, there we go. The wealthy among us had a moral choice to make. If you owned a business, do you then give, okay. Here we go. It's gonna be good. If you owned a business, do you then get, it's gonna be good, then fall on my face immediately. Take number 3. So not only did Ellen lie about not getting a birthday invitation from Dakota Donson? I'm Dakota Donson. Oh God.